When I first decided to get a Dreamcast, there were a few games I had in mind picking up. Yeah, the obvious picks would be the Sonic games for the console, but the one game I knew I had to grab was Crazy Taxi. Originally released in 1999 for arcades, it would only be a year later where it would come over to the Dreamcast, and by the end of the console's run, it would become one of the system's best-selling games. Now, I never seen the arcade version of Crazy Taxi, nor have I ever played the console version before like the Gamecube or Xbox 360 re-release. I also never knew that there were multiple Crazy Taxi games, like 2 sequels, a Game Boy Advance game, a PSP port, and a couple mobile games. I only found out about these recently. The only Crazy Taxi related thing I ever played was Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, where Beady Joe was a playable character. So yeah, I'm very new to this series. Oh, but I did play a certain video game starring an iconic cartoon family that plays very similar to Crazy Taxi. Like, really similar. I wonder if they ever got sued for it. But anyway, now that I got my very own Dreamcast, and I fixed it up with some new add-ons like an upgraded fan, an HDMI connector with a nice VGA display, I'm ready to experience this Sega classic myself. Not to mention with Sega currently working on a new entry in the series, now's a perfect time to see where it all started and get prepped for when the new game releases. So let's power up this white box and see how this arcade classic holds up. Now, considering this was originally an arcade driving game, there's no plot related to what you're doing. You pick one of the 4 drivers to play as and get dropped straight into the action where you pick up customers, drive them to their destination, rinse and repeat until the time is up. The classic setup for arcades to get people to play, finish quickly, and get the next person in to drop more money into the machine. And while the game doesn't provide anything story related, the booklet for the Dreamcast release does provide tiny snippets of background info for all the 4 drivers, detailing characteristics like how Axel has a quick temper and Gus's obsession to always be number 1. My favorite bios would have to go to Gina and Beady Joe though, with Gina's detailing how she's more interested in going fast than entertaining the customers, while Beady Joe is the exact opposite, wanting to make sure people have fun while they're going for the ride. While nothing crazy, having these descriptions to read over are a nice addition, plus they also explain what each of their license plates mean, like Big Jackpot, Ready to Get Crazy, No Mistakes, and... oh. Well, like it says here. You know what it means. Anyway, back to the gameplay. The main mode of the game is split between 2 options, Arcade and Original. Arcade will have you drive across the map from the arcade version of the game, while Original is an all-new map for the Dreamcast release, which is nice to see. Having a second map to play on offers something new for players who experience the game already in arcades, while also providing more content for those who will be playing the game for the first time. Once you select either map, you'll have the options to play under the arcade rules or a set timer. The arcade rules are simple. You pick up customers, drive them to the destination, and based on how fast you got them there, additional time would be added to the game's timer. Failing to drive people places fast enough, they'll jump out of the car and you won't get paid, eventually leading to the timer hitting 0 and giving you a game over. If you choose not to go with the arcade rules, you can set a timer to 3, 5, or 10 minutes and go at your own pace, only worrying about the timer individual customers have. The arcade rules are a fun challenge, but I'm not really great at it since I'm still fairly new to the game. Best I can do is a C, but give me a few weeks and I'm sure I can land at least an A. I like to set the timer for 10 minutes and go crazy. Plus it allows me to explore more of the map without worrying about a game over looming over my head. With the map and rules all set up, it's time to get to work. When you drop in, you'll immediately see customers waiting for a cab. Drive up to them and floor to the destination. What the game excels at best is the flow of gameplay, grabbing a customer, driving across the map, disobeying countless laws for a big payday, then finding someone new to repeat the process over and over again. There won't be a moment to relax, as once you see that person hop out the back seat, you're scanning the area for your next client. When looking for a new customer, something to always consider is the color of the icon and circle around them. Green indicates that the destination is far, yellow is a medium distance, and red is close by. While red is closer and easier to get done fast, the payout isn't as good compared to those with a green or yellow icon. However, if you don't see any other clients around you, picking this person up is better than driving around hoping to find someone better. Knowing who to pick up is essential for racking up higher scores, and outside of driving to the destination, you'll need to do it in style too. During the trip, you can earn tips by performing stunts like slipping by cars on the road, going off ramps, catching some air, or drifting around corners. If you see an opportunity to make some extra dough, best to do it rather than taking a nice Sunday drive. At the drop-off zone, you'll be paid for your performance, combining the base fare, tips for stunts performed, and the bonus fare, which is determined by the remaining time on the clock. If you're playing with the arcade rules, you'll also be rewarded with additional time based on your speed, with +5 or +2 seconds given if you got there fast or at a normal pace. It can be a lot of fun seeing the clock close to hitting 0 and you're trying to just get one more person done to earn a little more cash. What makes the trips a little more entertaining is hearing the passengers try to give directions as you're speeding past everyone around you. Or in other cases, commenting about how you should be a little more careful. I get that a lot, but really they should just sit back and enjoy the ride. The passengers can especially be funny based on how well you performed, complimenting you for getting to the destination incredibly fast, or throwing dirt in your eye if you took too long. I didn't break this many laws just to be insulted, madam. A simple thank you would have sufficed, and I would be on my way. Outside of tricks to perform for more money, you can perform some maneuvers to ensure you're not wasting a single second on the clock. A crazy dash propels you forward with a burst of speed, which helps when you just stop to pick up a customer, along with a drift to make tighter turns easier like in the city areas. You can also perform these maneuvers in reverse, so if the destination is behind you, turning around becomes no problem. Although, I'm not good at that whatsoever. I'm working on it, okay? After the time is up, your final score and rank will be displayed and you can enter something for the leaderboard. Since I played for 10 minutes, an S rank is easy to do, and once you're sent back to the main menu, you can hop back in to go for another round. The game can become addicting to play, always aiming to do better, plus both maps here are a lot of fun. Both are structured very well, providing multiple areas to catch air, streets with tight corners to have you drift around, and once you memorize locations, plenty of shortcuts to take to save time. While the close, tight city areas are a good challenge, I like the more open areas like the park with multiple hills to jump, driving along the water is nice scenery, and going down the streets of San Francisco is always fun to do. Something I didn't expect to see were real-life brands like Levi's, Pizza Hut, and KFC. Honestly, I don't mind ads in games as long as they make sense in them, and in this case they do since these are real locations you can go to. One thing I would have liked is having a map displayed at all times, instead of relying on only the arrow at the top of the screen. Because if you don't know the map and you see the arrow pointing one direction and you take a turn, only for the game to tell you to turn around, chances are the client is gonna jump out of the car. Another situation you may come across is accidentally falling into the water. And without a ramp nearby, that's another client lost. Gotta learn to properly brake to avoid these situations. This becomes less of an issue when you learn more about the map and the controls, but for new players, it can be annoying. Luckily, controls are quick to understand. No matter which setup you go with, driving around is a lot of fun. What really determines if you're a pro at the game are performing those maneuvers and earning a large sum of tips from customers. Hitting the brakes at the drop-off is good, but going in reverse along with hitting the brakes to perform a crazy stop gets customers out way faster. And while drifting around corners is fun, sometimes you'll ram straight into oncoming traffic, or at times go so fast you'll ram into a wall and start driving sideways, which is too funny not to do. Honestly, driving like a maniac is the best part of the game. Whether almost hitting cars to get tips or hitting them to see them flip is hilarious. Anytime I see my car going crazy, I just laugh and watch the chaos unfold. Outside of the standard game mode, you do have additional mini-games within the Crazy Box, completing objectives like jumping off a ramp, popping balloons, bowling, even some mini-games to help you learn to perform some maneuvers. Nothing too big, but a nice little bonus to mess around with in between arcade sessions. The bowling minigame would probably be my favorite. The last thing on the main menu are the options, which allows you to change the arcade timers, traffic difficulty, and other settings, and finally the records, where you can view all the best high scores in each mode. I like that we can adjust the arcade timers so players can adjust to their liking if the current settings are just too difficult for them. Also, changing traffic is such a good option here, considering I'm ramming almost everything in sight. Regarding performance, that can vary. I've seen people online say they never had slowdown whatsoever, while others say they do. In a previous video I mentioned my disk drive was faulty, so I got my system modded to fix it. And while the game works most of the time, depending on what's happening, there can be some slowdown. Nothing to ruin my experience, but it is noticeable. The music is very catchy to listen to, although with only a handful of songs here, you'll be hearing the same thing on repeat if you're playing for long sessions. Made sense for the arcade game, but for the console version, more songs could have remedied this. Unfortunately, I couldn't play any of the game's music here due to copyright, so you'll have to look online to find it. Besides these minor issues, I had a lot of fun playing Crazy Taxi. It's an entertaining game that I could have seen myself putting in multiple dollars in if I ever saw it at an arcade. Slowly learning more and more of the map and how to cut down more seconds to earn more cash is fun, and doing multiple stunts and seeing me ramming everything in sight is just entertaining to see. Plus, this has me very excited to play the new game when it releases. But for now, I'll just continue playing the original game and rack up higher scores. And also try out the sequel, since that was also released on the Dreamcast. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like and leave a comment below about what you enjoyed the most about Crazy Taxi, or maybe something you like to see in the new game. Considering food delivery apps are common now, I would love to see a mode where you pick up people's orders. Have you drive to the restaurant first, then to the person's home to complete the job. It could be interesting. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you again later. Bye. They had Pizza Hut and KFC in this game. Sega, you have two options to choose from for the new game. Either you add a Sonic's on the map, or an Olive Garden. The ball's in your court. Don't disappoint us.